Hello and welcome to Please Don't Send Me Into Outer Space, the podcast intent on exploring all that science fiction and fantasy has to offer, one movie at a time. My name is Joel.
My name is Sarah.
Inconceivable but true. My name is Aaron.
You keep saying that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I almost said my name is Princess.
Oh!
Because the name Sarah actually means princess.
Oh, snap.
I thought you were the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Oh yeah, I go by many names.
Ooh.
I've been Roberts, Dread Pirate Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
I've been Sarah the Snake Roberts.
Oh, nice. Nice.
The movie this week is The Princess Bride from 1987, directed by Rob Reiner and written by William Goldman, starring Cary Elwes, Mandy Patinkin, Robin Wright, Chris Sarandon, Christopher Guest, Wallace Shawn, Andre the Giant, Fred Savage, Peter Falk, and all those character actors that were also in the movie. And this was Sarah's pick.
Yes.
Aw, thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. This movie isn't really a fantasy movie, but it is so a fantasy movie that I'm like, this is fantasy. It's probably the best fantasy movie that's been made in like maybe my whole generation. I don't know. Labyrinth is up there for me, but that's because it was like a childhood favorite, but this one never seems like it's bad to me. This is one of those movies I could watch over and over again, and I have, and I still like it.
Indeed, it continues to hold up after having seen it many times myself. And as somebody whose taste has changed quite a bit since he was younger when it comes to film, I'm actually very surprised at how delightful I still find it. Like, the script seems perfect, and the actors laying out those lines, it just comes off as a sweet perfection.
Yeah, perfection's definitely the word for this movie. Even if I'm in like a bad mood, putting this movie on will definitely cheer me up. It's one of those movies for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I was watching it this time, I was thinking about kind of more of the actors and their experience and what they had been involved in. And a lot of these guys were really good. Like, they were already well-known actors, had probably done a lot of stage work. And like Wallace Shawn had worked with Woody Allen, and Billy Crystal had done a bunch of stuff already, and I was just thinking about how it must have, I imagine it was a cool environment to work in, because not only were they like in England and Ireland when they were shooting some of the really cool locations, but like, but it just seemed like there must have been some like just interesting people to talk to on set, and I think it's cool that they all decided to do this fantasy movie that is kind of silly, but also really good.
Have you guys ever been to Ireland?
I have been to Ireland.
I've never been to Ireland.
Joel, are there really no snakes there?
Actually, it's kind of funny that you would ask that, because when you get off the plane, the first thing to do is spray you with this anti-snake guard, because there's literally snakes everywhere.
I knew it.
It's revolting.
I knew it.
Yeah, the whole St. Patrick driving away the snakes. I don't know where they, that's just to get the tourists to come in, because they're like, oh, don't worry, there's no snakes here.
Get
don't
the
worry.
story out
and then
there.
As soon as you land, they're like, oh, by the way, watch out for all the snakes.
All right.
And the shrieking eels.
Oh, I knew it. Those darn shrieking eels.
Those shrieking eels are nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is not something that I'm not even sure I've had the occasion to express this on the podcast. Maybe I have, because we've watched a couple of underwater things, but I have like a fear of marine life. And this is probably one of the reasons why. I think the main reason I'm afraid of marine life, and this is the God honest truth, I finally figured it out, is the movie The Sword and the Stone, where Arthur gets turned into a fish.
Into a fish?
To get taught that lesson.
Okay.
It's just like scary, like he's getting get eaten by that bigger fish and stuff like that.
Okay.
I think I used to have nightmares about it, but also scary freaking multi-toothed eels that screech at you.
Not to get too far away from this film, but I'm going to go there. But what about the squirrel scene? Do you ever want to be a squirrel?
That squirrel scene made me feel weird. Why are those squirrels kissing?
They love each other, Joel.
I don't like it.
All right.
Oh, and then he breaks that squirrel's heart. He breaks that squirrel's heart. You know whose heart? You know whose heart doesn't get broken here?
Who's, Joel?
Wesley's.
That's a good point.
Buttercup's heart gets broken.
Who? Oh, Buttercup. Yeah, man, she has it rough in this movie. Man,
yeah,
it's not an easy ride being a princess.
No, I think when I was a little girl, I thought, well, at least she's super pretty. I mean, she's got a lot of horrible things going on for her right now, but
good looks, check mark.
At least, things could be worse.
You're right.
She could be ugly.
She could have had like boils or yeah. No, very true.
This movie, I feel like, was like a gateway movie for me into like
Fred Savage.
The idea. No, I don't know. Maybe I'd already been watching The Wonder Years at that point. I don't know. When I actually saw this the first time.
What's our timeline on that?
I looked it up.
Uh-huh.
This was made the year before Wonder Years started airing.
Oh.
And I don't think I saw it in the theater. So chances are I saw it on VHS maybe a year later around the same time.
Okay.
So Wonder Years.
That's really good timing for Fred Savage. Nice.
Yeah. And, I like the idea of, like, Peter Falk palling around with, like, Fred Savage on the cast.
Yeah.
I think, Peter Falk is one of my favorite people. I love Columbo beyond reason. And, we have the entire series of it. I watch it all the time.
Nice.
I think of Columbo as being, one of the best anti-hero,
anti-hero.
characters.
He's not an anti-hero. He's a regular hero. He's not breaking laws to destroy crime.
The word I'm looking for is understated hero,
okay.
or most self-deprecating hero.
Yeah, I have this underground indie comic. I think it was my parents. I think it was called Quack or something like that. Anywho, long story short, there's one furry character in there who's basically Peter Falk, but he's playing. He is Columbo essentially, but as a dog person or whatever. I'll have to bring it in and show you sometime.
Awesome. Yeah. Columbo was another thing I was super into as a kid. I don't know why. But I started watching it with my dad, and I got super into it.
Nice.
And, I think Peter Falk was a cool person. And, R.I.P. But, this was a gateway into, acceptable romance, I think, for me.
Okay.
Because as a kid, even as a kid, I had this cheesiness aversion, and I think that this movie is self-aware of the cheesiness, and that made it easier to take. The fact that they were okay, this is cheesy, let's stop, but it was still funny too,
Yeah, I found most romance and things to be the gross factor for me as a kid. And I was always that kid that was I would point that out to my parents too. Be this is gross.
Kissing.
Even,
Ew.
exactly.
Yeah.
What? Even what?
Oh, I don't even know where I was headed.
What? What secret
Huh?
kissing movies were your parents showing you?
Oh, probably just anything.
Okay.
A TV show.
I used to watch a lot of soap operas with my mom.
Oh, that's just kissing 24/7.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
People got nothing better to do. So you have like a rule about fantasy. Like, is it actually a fantasy movie if it's like turns out that it was a dream that somebody was having or something like that? I mean, does this fall under your definition of like something that wouldn't be a fantasy? Because it is literally an old man telling his grandson a story out of a storybook.
No, I was saying that in the beginning, that it isn't really a fantasy movie.
I mean, because
it
is. It is. That's what I'm saying. I feel like I don't have a problem with it the way it's presented.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Okay.
I was just going to say that I too find this to be a fantasy film. Definitely more on like the fairy tale end of that spectrum. And yeah, it's way fun. It's way fun. Mm-hmm.
I like that it's a fantasy film that doesn't like go into science fiction at all, even to the point where like something that could have been a steampunkish machine is so primitively made. You know, the torture machine. The thing that sucks somebody's life. It's like literally a wheel. You know, water coming out of a whatever thing and running a wheel to suck the life out of this guy. It's like they didn't even want to do anything remotely mechanical. And I really like the steps that they go through to keep it firmly in the fantasy, you know, giant rats and fire swamps. And
they kept it pretty much in reality. They had some things that were beyond reality in the fictitious country that they're in the fairy tale or whatever. But I think that they were careful not to create anything supernatural. They explained most of the things that were, I mean, except for the rodents. I think they explained almost everything with, like, reasonable explanation.
I think the only thing that's not is Miracle Max.
Yeah.
But it's in the name, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's like, you know, he does magic. Like,
That's
even
right.
though it's like some sort of medicine, like everybody says this guy's dead, and they bring him to him, and he pops a pill into his mouth to bring him back to life. So you could stretch it to say like, well, you know, he's calling it magic, but it's really medicine.
I missed it on this time of viewing. But what was the reason why Miracle Max was let go from his position as a master physician? Was it because of the evil dude kind of taking his place?
He was too horny.
Oh.
No, I don't think he actually says.
Oh.
He just says he got
Okay.
fired.
All right. Well, hey,
He got fired by the king's son.
I mean, the heart wants what the heart wants, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that he said something like, oh, his son, like, fired me and, like...
Hired the six-fingered man, I assume.
I guess.
No.
Were those his potions and stuff? Or was there an area where there was, like, a physician that was working in the castle?
Not that we saw. I was thinking it was like a Robin Hood Prince of Thieves situation where you just have some old bag lady up in the attic.
Oh, the evil person that was down in the tree or whatever?
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Despair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't even think of trying to escape. It's just such a stupid little joke, and it's so perfect. Like the, you know, like the change of the voice thing, because that's a step, like you were saying, almost a step a little too far into the fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, he's evil. He's an evil, impish guy, but oh no, actually, he's got a normal voice.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a total Mel Brooks joke type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
You would see in like Young Frankenstein or something.
Yeah.
But the cast is so good in this, and the dialogue is so good and so quick. And it doesn't really age badly, which I think is amazing, because a lot of shows that a lot of movies that we've watched since time has passed, at least some of it is like dated dialogue, but there's less of that in this than there is in a lot of other movies.
The writing is so tight in this. It's timeless. I agree.
There's a lot of quipping and wit used back and forth, and some snark. I think that that's probably one of the reasons I liked it so much, was because I found it kind of silly, but like smart at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Like, just the way the good guys interact. You know, Wesley's interacting with Inigo and with what is the giant's name?
His name is Fizz.
Well, they say it a whole bunch of times, and I don't know. He's Andre the Giant.
I just read it.
he's Andre the Giant as himself. Anyways, just like the like line interaction that they have, the witty back and forth, and everything is so wonderfully paced and delivered, and like Mandy, like I didn't know who Mandy Patinkin was, and
this was Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah.
Like, in our brains, maybe it's our generation. I don't know if anybody else that's our age was more familiar with him from something else at a young age. But for us, Mandy Patinkin was this character.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's that Spaniard.
He was Inigo Montoya. Like, that's who he was to us.
That famous Spanish actor, Mandy Patinkin.
With the long hair, the sword fighter. Like
Andre the Giant's character's name was Fezzik.
Fezzik. And the wittiest part, Wallace Shawn. Like, of course, like, they gave him all these crazy lines, but I think that it's just so quotable. Everything in this movie is so quotable.
Yeah, Sarah was quoting the movie as it was going on. And we were like, stop it. No, then we didn't say that.
There were a couple that I really liked.
I had to restrain Joel because he was just so... yeah, he was so worked up.
I think that's the worst story I've ever heard. How marvelous. It's just, yeah. Christopher Guest, okay, since I brought up that particular line, I love, like, okay, yeah, now as an adult, I've seen, it's another person, like, I've seen Christopher Guest movies, and I've seen Christopher Guest in his movies,
right.
Like, I love him in Best in Show, for instance, but, like, in this, for the longest time, I didn't know who that guy was.
Yeah.
I thought it was just some British guy.
Some actor.
Some swarmy, like, awesomely evil British guy, and it's like, no, that's Christopher Guest. He's, I don't know, he's probably Canadian. I don't know if he's an American, but it's like, yeah. And he had worked with Rob Reiner on this is Spinal Tap.
Oh, right.
So that's where that connection would have come from, too. And we were talking Billy Crystal.
Yeah, Billy Crystal and When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
Just to have a moment of Andre the Giant love.
Just a moment?
I was super into wrestling as a kid, and I actually went to a wrestling match with my dad once as a kid that I believe Andre the Giant was at, and I think it was here in Ventura. Yeah, Andre the Giant was there, Hulk Hogan was there, and Elvira was there. And I remember, like, there being big moments, and, like, I think I remember the Macho Man being there, too. I'm not positive, but it was, like, a pretty earth-shattering moment for me as a kid that, like, I was seeing all these, like, crazy wrestlers that I knew from TV. And wrestling was, like, a super popular thing for a minute in the 80s. It was, like, huge.
Huge.
And Andre the Giant was just super cool. And then when you saw him in this movie, you're like, he seems like a really nice person, too. Not just, like, a cool guy and, like, an entertaining wrestler and stuff. And I remember, when I was working at the theater, I read this thing, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I was, we were doing some Beckett plays, and, I read that Samuel Beckett actually used to live down the street from Andre the Giant when he was a kid.
Oh.
And he would give him a ride to school in the morning.
That's awesome.
And I just think that's crazy to think about, too. Like Samuel Beckett and Andre the Giant in a car talking to each other about stuff on the way to school.
Yeah, those minds. This is a meeting of the minds.
I really am intrigued to know what those conversations were like.
According to Andre the Giant, they didn't really talk about very much at all.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was, he probably didn't realize who, he was in the car with or anything like that. Samuel Beckett, if he'd known, he would have rustled him to the ground.
Where did I read that? Or do you remember when we were talking about that?
No,
I think it must...
I mean, I've heard it before since then too. Since you first told me about it, so
yeah,
some story going around.
This is news to me. Very cool.
Well, get on it.
Well, yeah.
Now.
Okay. Leaves podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And Carrie Elways, I mean, oh my gosh, I have to say that this was like the idea of like your dream guy as a little girl when you were watching this movie, and it's like, I mean, it's like a Disney, like, romance, practically.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just, like, the most charming and kind and generous. And at the same time, he turns out to be this adventurous bad guy. And then, like, he comes back for her. And, like, in my mind as a kid, I think this was kind of a fundamental, like,
oh yeah,
building block for the idea of what, like, a romantic relationship could be like in like a dream scenario, I mean, I don't know if boys felt that way too when they watched it. But
oh yeah, we were in love with Carrie Elwes. Gorgeous. Look at that hair.
If you weren't in love with him, you wanted to be him.
Yeah, exactly. I want to swing,
Robin Wright,
swing that sword. I want to run my hand through his hair.
Yep.
Get those soft kisses. I don't like that little mustache, though. That's got to go.
I mean,
I don't know, it kind of tied everything together.
Not literally?
Yeah.
For a pirate, I guess it was a look.
Yeah, I guess you gotta have a mustache if you're a pirate. Touche. So the opening scene here where, not the opening scene, but the opening part where we're presented with Buttercup, who is a commoner girl, lives on a farm. And Wesley is a farm boy.
Uh-huh.
So it seems like she orders him around, but they're both commoners. So he was like a lesser commoner. He was like...
Yeah, I think he was a hired hand.
He was the scum commoner, and she was the slightly better commoner that might get noticed by a passing by prince.
I think that her family had enough money to hire a farm boy helping hand around. And the only difference was, like, he was a commoner that could be hired to help out, and she was a commoner that wasn't hired.
Yeah. Yeah. Who could benefit from from the hiree.
Being an employer.
Yeah.
To another commoner.
Yeah.
You never see her family or parents or anything.
No.
And they're kind of older for being, like, alone and stuff. I feel like at that time... It's fantasy. It's not a real time. It's not a real place. But
back in the day,
I almost feel like it seems like she's a single woman living alone in the beginning parts.
The way it's filmed definitely makes it seem like she is by herself.
I mean, they feel like teenagers to me in the beginning, though. They feel like very young people, and then later when they see them, they feel older, like appropriately older. They do a really good job of making it seem like a certain amount of time has actually passed since they last seen each other. But yeah, I don't like, was there, when the prince acquired Buttercup, was there a dowry that happened for the parents or anything? Were their parents dead or something? I guess that makes me think of how tight it was for like characters. Like there were a bunch of characters, but each one is so memorable in the movie that it doesn't feel like we've got a huge cast of people. But there is like 15 individuals, I feel like, that you could be like, oh yeah, crazy. That guy. Oh, that guy's going to say a thing. Like, even the guy who's like the head guard with the key.
Right.
Is a super memorable guy.
Yeah. And even the king, who barely has a part at all, the king is like still a little like
she kissed
charming old man. Yeah.
That was an Aaron line.
It was totally something I would say.
You got a beard like the king.
Thank you. I do.
Mm-hmm. That was a strange wedding.
Yeah, I had a lot of concerns when I was watching this when I was younger about, like, there being a time limit. I remember probably being like, I like this bad guy, and being like, I don't think that's okay to like this bad guy. And then you find out that he's the person that she was with all along.
Oh, yeah.
I remember having a little bit of a moral conflict about that as a kid.
Hey, ladies like the bad
like,
boy.
Wait a minute. No, he actually is the guy, the dream guy. Yeah, another thing I definitely hated the torture part. I think the worst part for me in this movie is between when they come out of the woods and take him and before, like, the wedding. Like, that's probably my least favorite part of the movie still, and it probably was my least favorite part then too, when he gets tortured and they have to try and figure out a way to get to the castle. And do you have a least favorite moment?
Let's see. Least favorite moment.
The eels, maybe?
No, I like that part. I just think the eels are scary. That's different. You know, I guess. Sorry, go ahead. You had something on the tip of your tongue?
All I was going to state is that I have no negative emotional response for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, sure, there's, things that one would dislike that occur, obviously, but I mean, this movie is just so well constructed that, even the moments where obviously, one should be upset, I feel it's very appropriate. Like, as you just mentioned, you should feel upset that he's being tortured. I think it's just so masterfully crafted,
Yeah. And I like that particular scene because we get some very swarmy, Christopher Guest in it, talking about his whole thing, and a little bit, Chris Sarandon and Christopher Guest talking about his work and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's funny. But yeah, I guess the only scene that kind of makes me is the whole wedding scene, just because I'm so tired of that. Like, that's like, if somebody doesn't know the movie very well, that's just going to be the dialogue that they bring out.
Got it.
He's got a speech impediment, and he's got a goofy voice.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I can see what you're saying about that. It's like hearing somebody just quoting Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Like in the movie Sliding Doors. How did Gwyneth Paltrow end up with that guy? All he did was quote Monty Python. Shut up. Oh, sorry. Hey, what's up? Monty Python and the Holy Grail, though, specifically.
Well, I mean, it is a great movie, but I mean, it is quoted quite often.
Yeah. When are you going to do that one?
Whenever.
Right now. You couldn't see that, listener, but I reached like I had an invisible remote and was turning it on.
Are we going to record Princess Bride while we're watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
That's the
Because
only way to
that'd
do
be
it.
a little awkward, and I think we'd confuse most of our listeners.
It's like Inception.
Yeah,
I think always look on the bright side of life is from Life with Brian.
it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So... Okay, so I don't want to talk about each individual character. We've already talked about Andre the Giant. We've talked about Christopher Guest. We kind of talked about Wesley. I feel like Wesley. It's funny. Like, I feel like Wesley and Buttercup are the least interesting characters, which is not to say that I dislike them, but, Buttercup unfortunately doesn't end up being able to, she's a proactive character, but she doesn't end up doing much other than getting told what to do, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm
I see
saying
what you're
this.
saying. I see what you're saying, that, like...
I mean, because she's very headstrong, she's like, I'm not going to marry you. I'm going to kill myself. Like, that's no two ways about it. And if you're going, if you lie to me, it's going to be bad for you, buddy. You know?
I guess in that way, it's kind of like a melodrama because it seems like you've got to have the leading man and the leading lady, like, as part of the adventure story or whatever, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the ones with the most character. They're just part of the ensemble that's, like, kind of funny and kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it remind you of any other movies?
Does The Princess Bride remind me of any other movies? Specifically? I mean, it's just gonna sound stupid, but I was thinking of Robin Hood and Prince of Thieves, but, like, it's not, obviously not nearly as good, but it is, a low-key people riding on horses, swords coming out, things like that kind of stuff. But that's about it.
All right,
like,
yeah, I know. I hadn't really thought of that before, but you're right, yeah.
A dude and a lady.
That's true.
Not Men in Tights.
No, not Men in Tights, starring Cary Elwes.
The Mel Brooks comedy. No, I agree. I think that just that time period and that setting, it does remind you more of, like, other fairy tales.
Yeah, it's no Hawk the Slayer, but, it's pretty good.
It's also no Three Musketeers, right?
Oh, wait.
The 90s
No,
one?
it is totally Three Musketeers. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Except for Milady gets killed in that one. Jumps off a cliff.
Spoilers.
Spoiler.
Spoilers for
Rebecca De Mornay.
Three Musketeers.
R.I.P.
Boom.
I mean, she's still alive, but the character.
Yeah.
I really like the sword fighting in this movie.
Yeah.
To talk about some other thing that like, however it's choreographed, whether, like, if they were using, like, stunt people, like, I kept trying to, like, pay attention to see, like, there were certain parts where I think they must have, like, when, after they climb the cliffs of insanity and Wesley starts doing those, like, gymnastic flips right there. That's that thing for sure. And, anytime they do a kind of flip thing, they do a cut so that the person stands up at the end and it's the actual actor. But I don't know if the sword fighting, any of that was just stunt people.
I mean, there must have been a couple of stunt guys in there just every now and then, but I feel that definitely a lot of the sword fighting scenes were done by the actors.
Yeah. At least by Mandy Patinkin. They could have put the mask and costume on another guy who looked kind of like Cary Elwes, but, like, I think it was mostly Mandy Patinkin doing his own stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed really well done, really well choreographed, executed. And I like the rapport between those two in the movie, but I also, I like his fight with Andre the Giant, too.
Absolutely.
I feel like those are such small scenes now that I'm a grown-up and I rewatched this movie, but when I was a kid, those were monumental, like, moments. And I know I shouldn't keep on calling back to my childhood.
Oh, no, but this
experience of it, but it was a movie.
This is an important movie to you, though,
we watched when we were young.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember what Ben Skywalker said, kill the past. Or whatever.
No.
Or I guess his name is Ben Solo, not Ben Skywalker. That'd be weird.
I think this movie should be celebrated at any point in your life. And especially if this was important to you when you were younger, that should be celebrated too.
It's just interesting how well it holds up. Like,
yeah.
And that, like, because I feel like there are things that when I was a kid I didn't appreciate that now as an adult I could definitely appreciate. And way more often, it's like I saw something as a kid, and now as an adult, I'm like, this is really stupid. Why did I like this as a kid? Well, you grew out of it. And this movie, it's like the things, like you said, the things I remembered when I was a kid were the fights, and they were big parts, climbing the cliff, like running through the swamp and stuff like that, and Andre the Giant on fire. And now the whole package is just so... It's so smooth and delicious, just like creamy peanut butter. What?
Yeah, I feel like it's such a good adventure movie that, like, it gave kids, like, something to imagine and think about, and it's a very engaging story.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that book within a story thing kind of makes you as the viewer experience it from reality, but from the perspective of, like, this is an entertaining story too. And I like that it's like pro books too.
Yeah.
For kids. It's like, oh, I don't want to hear this stupid book in the beginning. And I mean, if you can capture your imagination in a book, like, it's like the rest of the world disappears. So it's cool that it was kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit cheesy, but I love it.
I think that, like, those scenes are completely relatable for anybody. Like,
yeah,
even though it's a 80s movie, playing video games and then giving it up to listen to somebody read a book to you, like, hell no, I'm a kid. Bring on the Atari 7200. I don't know, Nintendo, whatever he was playing.
I didn't see the Power Glove, but
they had like a big joystick.
Oh,
which I didn't.
Maybe
recognize.
that's the advantage then.
What?
The advantage?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't like that. It was like it looked like a flight, like a flight stick style type thing.
Probably an Atari. Oh, flight stick.
You know what I mean? Like a single thing with like a button on top. Obviously, I don't know. He wasn't playing the game. And this goes with Big. Starts off playing a video game in the beginning of the movie.
Did you guys see that trailer for the Deadpool movie?
Oh yeah.
That's like Fred Savage in a bed and he's talking to him like this.
That's great.
It's silly.
It's great.
But I was like thinking like, oh, I can't believe like some actors might not have agreed to do that. Something they were known for as a kid.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome too.
Yeah, I've been trying to get Will Wheaton to walk around in a Starfleet uniform for years again, and he won't take my calls.
Well, he's a busy nerd.
Make him run on the railroad tracks while I drive a train towards him, but no! Doesn't want to do that either.
I met Wesley Crusher once. He's pretty cool.
Ooh, nice.
That's crazy.
Also, I sort of met Fred Savage once too.
Really?
Yeah, I was at Comic-Con. I went to a panel. I sat in a chair, and I turned to look to my left, and there were a series of chairs near me, like, against the wall, and Fred Savage was just sitting on one of those chairs. We locked eyes for a moment. He stared at me, I stared at him, and I waved. He waved back.
Nice.
That was my interaction with Fred Savage.
Well, that's nice that he waved back.
How old were you?
I was 25.
Oh, that's cool.
I was 25.
Nice.
I couldn't... it was the spaced panel for Edgar Wright's TV show. They had just announced the box set, and I guess Fred Savage was a fan.
That's cool. Yeah.
So he just was amongst us all in the crowd. Thought he could hide, but I saw him.
Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think about that last sword fight between Inigo Montoya and I don't know what Christopher Guest's character's name is. They said it a couple of times.
Yeah,
Six-fingered man.
What do you guys think of that?
The best.
I had forgotten how that fight, how the flow of that battle, because I had forgotten that Andre the Giant, or Fezzik, had knocked the door down, and then as soon as he'd gotten into that room, that he'd been almost fatally killed even before the battle begun. And so this time around, when I was watching, I had forgotten that fact, and I had just been like, "Well, how's this gonna end?" Like that was my. I almost said that out loud, like while we were watching it this time.
Wait, what?
That's not what happens.
Yeah. So
it's alternate ending.
I think the pacing of that's really cool because it just shows that he misses his father and he's going to do whatever he can to make sure that his revenge is sated.
There's one mission in life.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm always shocked at how bloody it is because it's like not only does he get that dagger in the belly, and then he's like holding on to that bloody wound. And I can't think of another moment of the movie where there is blood.
Yeah.
Like even when Wesley is quote unquote killed, it doesn't get blood pouring out his nose or anything like that. So like he gets that in the stomach, and then he gets 2 more in each arm. And then that's just an ego, once it starts going against the six-fingered man, he gets wounds all over the place too. So it was an interesting choice, in my opinion.
Christopher Guest is such a good bad guy in this without even really, you don't need that much introduction because of what you've already heard about his character in the movie. It's really well set up and smooth. And, I feel like he, this fight is like one of those moments again where I wasn't sure when I was watching this as a younger kid, I was concerned with a number of things in this movie that keep you kind of in suspense.
Yeah.
One of them was the, wedding that was going to happen, like it or not, at a certain point in the movie, which, like, I always found kind of crazy that this wedding was going to happen against her will or whatever. Like, and
not
so
cool.
That was a crazy suspense thing that they had going. Then there was the thing about the hero dying, which, like, is actually really terrible, even though you don't see anything really that bad happening to him, but it's the idea of being tortured, I think, that bothered me so much. And then the idea of having to try and revive this guy who'd been pushed to near death, but still has to try and, like, save somebody. So, yeah, there's that also as a factor that's happening. And then there's the, like, revenge story that Inigo Montoya is looking for this man, and he's such a bad guy, and you don't want him to be able to get away with it. And he keeps having the advantage. And in this scene, it's just like, no, good wins over evil.
That's
and it's a really good scene. And I think, again, it's like one of those classic moments in the movie where he's just like, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. And I think that's just, like, so real, like, so human and cool. Yeah. And, yeah, it's about loyalty and honor and about your family, and it's relatable.
It's kind of interesting that Andre the Giant's motivation is simply that he likes his friends. Like, he doesn't have a big backstory. I mean, the Wallace Shawn is like, when I found you, you were an idiot with no friends and all that stuff like that. But it's not like, you need to find the gold or something like that. He's just a generally just a super friendly guy who happens to be a super tough dude.
He's like the gentle giant. He's like the Ludo of this story.
Yeah.
He likes a good pun.
Yeah.
A rhyme or two.
Yeah, no, he definitely seems like he would just be like a nice person to hang out with, even though he's supposed to be this, like, buff, like, enforcer or something.
I enjoy that moment when they first meet Miracle Max and basically,
get out of here! I'll call the Brute Squad.
Yeah, but I am the Brute Squad.
He's on the Brute.
I'm on the Brute Squad.
Yeah. I mean, you can always count on Briley Crystal.
Too good.
I feel like that's kind of the thing they do in that movie Goon too, where, like, he's supposed to be this, like, tough guy, but they make him seem so nice and in some situations stupid and, like, embarrassing and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's
nice to a fault.
It's endearing and funny at the same time. But yeah, I just think that the character is awesome, and I'm really glad that he played that part in the movie.
Yeah, it's like that. In this alone, Andre the Giant in this movie alone is like this great gift that the world got.
Mm-hmm.
Like this perfect unrepeatable thing. Like, you couldn't find another actor to ever give a performance like that in that way. I can't, that's in my opinion. Sorry.
I feel like I can back you up on that, though. I'm sure there are a lot of other, large in stature fellows, but I think Andre just really nailed it as far as personality wise.
Yeah, if they ever, remade, God forbid, ever remade this movie and they put, Dave Bautista in that role, I'd enjoy it. But he's no Andre the Giant.
Exactly.
But Dave Bautista is pretty cool.
That's true.
Saw him in Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, that movie's great.
You know who else is in that movie?
Who else?
Robin Wright.
Oh.
Who does an impeccable accent in there. No, I actually don't know. I can't say she has an impeccable accent, but I think she does fine. She never slips as far as I could tell.
In this movie?
Yeah.
This was the first moment that I was actually aware that she was doing an accent and that isn't actually her real accent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she does an incredible job because, you wouldn't notice it unless you are thinking about Robin Wright as like who she is now.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of people who don't have it. It's Robin Wright, Chris Sarandon, Christopher Guest, Mandy Patinkin. Obviously, all these people don't have accents. I think they do fun in the, fun job in this.
They do.
Have you ever seen Chris Sarandon in another movie?
I might have, but nothing's coming to mind, though.
He's like indelibly tied to this movie for me. And the only other thing that I've seen him in is a movie that I haven't watched all the way through yet, which is Child's Play.
Oh.
It's like a detective in the beginning.
Okay.
Have you seen Fright Night?
I have seen... Oh, no. No, I haven't seen Fright Night. And guess what? Never seen Child's Play. I know.
Yeah, because you're not big on the slashers. I understand. Don't even worry. Fright Night's vampires.
No, I mean the idea of Child's Play really, really freaked me out though as a kid. So,
redheads freak me out in general. Sorry, Mom. My friend, what's he doing?
French-born international wrestler, superstar, and actor.
That's him.
Nice.
He also did the voice of Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas. Not the singing part, but just the regular voice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like the youngest I've ever seen him in a photograph.
Oh,
wow.
dang.
Who's that other guy? That looks like that guy from Californication.
No.
Yeah, it's Runkle. Doesn't matter. Anything else you guys want to say about it?
I remember being very surprised as a kid when Robin Wright's character knocks Wesley across down the hill.
You were saying that.
I didn't see it coming.
That's pretty funny.
Obviously, not so much now, but I remember the sudden shock of like, why would you do that?
I remember thinking, I want to roll down that hill.
Well, yeah, and then that was my immediate next response was.
But I still, even as an adult, I'm kind of like, that would really hurt. I still kind of want to roll down that hill.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that she did that because from the perspective, even though you like him at that point, like from her perspective, she's like, get away from me.
Well,
You're
she's still being
evil.
kidnapped. Yeah,
you kidnapped me.
Also, you're the person who killed my true love.
Yeah, that's how she saw it. Yeah.
Oh, man. You know what just occurred to me is I think it was the guys on the Flophouse were always talking about how it's in the movie Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, there's a part where they're like laying out the story in like what would be kind of a boring dialogue moment, but they show like they're serving all those like weird foreign foods in that part.
Right. Monkey brains.
And it's supposed to be like, whoa, it's
a
like
delicacy.
distracting. Well, this part in this movie, they have a perfect scene like that too, when he's explaining how he became the Dread Pirate Roberts because they're going through that crazy forest, and it's like he's laying out all this dialogue, but there's some exciting stuff going around in the background. So the
part that makes me laugh about that is like after he explains, to the T how everything went down. Like, even before she can say anything, she immediately falls into quicksand. There's no response. Like, she is like, boom, down.
Yeah, I really want to know how they did that, the quicksand part.
A series of trampolines and hidden rooms.
I'd be interested to see how they did that.
Boom tube.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was definitely curious about quicksand after that.
And they definitely drag them out of it. It's not like they're soaking wet when they come out. It's not like it's like literally a swamp. They get pulled out of, like, it looks like a big old thing of dirt. So
they spritz them a little bit and just lightly put sand on them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that just reminded me, there is a bloody part in that when he gets bit by the ROT.
Oh, yeah.
ROUS, rather.
Of unusual size.
Mm-hmm. Famous around that area.
Rodentia.
Knights of Rodentia.
Ooh.
Rats.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How did I never know this before? Jamie Lee Curtis is married to Christopher Guest and has been since 1984.
Oh, dang.
Yes.
And he is British.
Oh, he is British. Well, it shows what I know.
That's what it said. His dad... Okay, yeah, he's a member of the House of Lords.
Okay, so all that stuff I was saying before where he's not actually British, yeah, I take that back.
Redaction.
Mm-hmm. Just go back, listener, go back in time and pretend I didn't say any of that.
He has dual citizenship because he's married to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Of course.
Born Christopher Hayden Guest. Oh. It says he was born in New York. But his parents were Peter Hayden Guest IV, Baron Hayden Guest, and Jean-Pauline Hines. So maybe they were American nationals, too.
Part of the Hines fortune?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, I knew they were married.
I didn't.
I don't know where they met or anything like that.
It's not amazing to me that they married. It's amazing to me that they're still married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She likes a funny guy. Like Dan Aykroyd. In, what was that, Trading Places? You didn't know I was going?
Fun movie. Yeah, I was like, Dan Aykroyd, where's this going?
Why would she know Dan Aykroyd? Trading Places.
It said that they got married at their friend Rob Reiner's house.
Oh. That's cool.
Yeah. 84. That's crazy. Maybe I had heard that and I didn't know who Christopher Guest was at the time. I don't know.
They got married in 84?
Yeah.
So they got married before this movie was even made. Because this is 87.
Man.
Wow.
They've been married as long as I've been around on the earth.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You're their anniversary present.
Aw. That's right. I truly am a gift.
Truly.
Truly.
Anything else you want to say about?
About picking the Princess Bride.
Mm.
I feel like I don't know what to say because it's such a classic movie that everybody knows it. Everybody's seen it. If you happen to have not seen The Princess Bride yet, you should watch it. We didn't break it down scene by scene exactly, but it's definitely a fun movie to watch and rewatch, in my opinion.
What I really like about this movie is that in a lot of ways you could replicate several of these scenes as encounters in Dungeons and Dragons, like easily.
Oh.
Easily.
Is that what's going to happen?
100% could.
The pacing of this movie, one could even, it's just so fun.
Aaron's
great
next
storytelling.
Campaign.
That's right. Joel, you'll have to be the princess.
I have a disadvantage because I'm using my left hand.
That's right. See?
I understand. So the last thing I wanted to say was that there was a song at the end of the movie, and that's like an 80s trope. Like, you have to have a song specially made for your movie at the end of the movie. And remember how I told you guys I would forget how it went? I've totally forgot how it went. Something about our love is like a storybook romance.
Well, you're close.
Mm.
Our love is like a storybook story.
Oh, a storybook story. Okay,
Yeah.
so the lyrics are bad. Okay.
Well, some may say bad, some may say repetitive.
Yeah.
But I mean, how else would one explain a storybook?
I don't know. Yeah.
And how else can you dissect a storybook? Could you say like the pages of the book?
It's like referring to your brand new car as It's a luxury vehicle car.
Yeah.
It's a storybook story, as opposed to a storybook cover. Like a storybook cover.
I mean, he could have said romance.
A storybook romance.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, yeah. Or our love is like a storybook romance, yeah, see? But, okay, storybook story. by Willie Dillis. No, that's not what the guy's name is.
Is it Willie Book Willis?
Making stuff up.
I don't know. I looked up the guy and I didn't know. He has passed away, so I shouldn't, talk ill of the dead. But yeah. And also the guy who wrote the book recently passed away, like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, rest in peace, man.
And this is like the 30th anniversary year, I think, since it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe last year was.
Yeah.
Willie Dillis. So, are we okay?
You're not okay.
No, I'm asking about if we're done talking about it. All right, I'm going to read the outro stuff. You guys think of a lesson that you learned from The Princess Bride, one of our all-time favorite movies. At the time of this recording, I haven't released our top 5 episode for that this movie is mentioned in, so I don't know if it'll be out, but it might be, and if it's not, surprise!
We'll talk about it again.
Yeah, we'll talk about it again. Not at this length, but we had to get into it.
Inconceivable, Joel. Inconceivable.
It did actually mean what he meant. He thought it meant, like, he couldn't.
Yeah, he couldn't conceive of the notion.
Exactly. But, it's his buzzword.
Yeah, it does mean what he thinks it means. It's just, that even though he thinks all of these things are inconceivable, they keep happening.
Right.
They do.
Also, he's, like, using it to sound smart. It's not working at a certain point. Hello, listeners. If you have any questions or suggestions, we're looking for some new movie suggestions. We got a list, but we could always use some more. Write into Please Don't Podcast at gmail.com or message us on Facebook, facebook.com/PDSMiOS. That's the first letters in Please Don't Send Me into Outer Space. PDSMiOS. It rolls off the tongue eventually.
Eventually.
If you have any dollars you'd like to send our way, we'd really appreciate it. We're kind of aching for money right now because it's a time of giving and need and stuff. And, if you could just see it in your heart to send $3 our way, you just need to go to coffee.com/PDSMiOS. That's ko-fi.com/PDSMiOS. I got a link inside the show notes every week. And for the price of a cup of the cup of a price of coffee, a scapa, you could buy caffeine so that I don't sound like an idiot by the end of this show.
Thank you, Joel.
Sarah's shaking her head. It's too late, she says. It's too late to apologize. I could have picked a better song.
That's pretty good for that moment.
For $3, I'll sing the song of your request.
I really like that, by the way. Please, listener, send us $3. I might scrounge up $3 just to.
We got a $3 donation from Baron Bornelius. That's weird.
I am known in certain circles as that alias.
The Baron Bornelius.
The Baron.
He came from the northern tundra to conquer our land.
Yes.
Anyways, if you'd like to hear more podcasts like us, check out the other podcast at Ear Trumpet Audio, eartrumpetaudio.com. I was actually on a recent Ear Trumpet Audio podcast.
Oh.
Other than ours.
Who are you crossing the streams with, Joel?
It was called, it was an episode of The Realist. That's REELIST.
Did they talk about movies?
It was about the movie Apocalypse Now.
That's a movie about soldiers, right?
Yes, it is. And we started to watch a movie that was using some Apocalypse Now stuff in it, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
And I like that movie a lot. I do think it is kind of a silly movie, though, as I've gotten older. But it is, it's a good conversation.
Unfortunately, I had a really bad experience watching that movie, and I did not enjoy it. It's okay.
They give you LSD?
No, it was during a bachelor party.
They didn't give you... What?
Didn't want to be part of.
You
Very, very,
a bachelor party?
Yeah.
good bachelor party entertainment.
Dear God.
It was rough, guys.
I'm sorry.
Joking, but yeah, that is rough.
For more traumatic experiences, send $3 in and Aaron will tell you all the terrible things that have happened in his life.
I mean...
Oh, we just got a donation from Bull Boris. That's weird. So did you guys think of a lesson that you learned from, I was going to call it, please don't send me an outer space, from The Princess Bride? I'm tired.
I thought of one and forgot it while you were talking.
I'm so sorry.
I'm just kidding. Okay. A lesson. My lesson is, it's not always what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
For example, all this dude's saying is, as you wish. But she eventually is reading between the lines. And I'm just saying that sometimes you don't need to say something specifically, but it's how you say it. So just, that could be a good thing or a bad thing.
You're right.
But just think about that sometimes.
I think Wesley's lucky that she didn't see it the way that I saw it. He's, and that's when Princess Buttercup realized that he wasn't just saying, as you wish. He was actually saying, I love you. And the way he looks at her when he says it, as you wish. He's got this look in his eyes like, you lady. You. But no, apparently those were his bedroom eyes, so I was wrong about that. You have a listener.
Not as important, but a couple of story points that I will apply in my life from now on from Princess Bride.
Okay.
One of them being, perhaps you have an overbearing boss. Not saying I do, just saying if you did.
Timmy.
Hey, no, we cool. We cool.
Timmy, stop bearing.
I'm just saying.
Overly.
Just saying, when it comes down to it, you've just been yelled at, you and your subordinate are sitting there making sure the sales going up.
Sure.
Make up a little rhyme. It'll pass the time.
Totally.
It would be a crime.
That's right.
Not to rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
On his dime.
That's right. Oh, fair enough. And then part 2 of the 2-part lessons I learned this time from watching Princess Bride. Carry a robe with you at all times. Just stuff in your shirt. Mm-hmm. Have that robe ready to go.
Yeah, not only that, but you should also remember, when giving details on what your advantages of a situation.
Your assets.
Don't forget the wheelbarrow.
Never forget the wheelbarrow.
No.
In your list of assets.
Why didn't you list that? No, assets. The first place.
Wheelbarrow goes to the top.
We have a wheelbarrow.
Top of the list.
Obviously. That'd be like not telling somebody you have a laser pistol.
Mm.
I'm surprised that they did have a wheelbarrow. Because that's not something just every day that you have.
I mean, it wasn't something that they made out of nowhere, too, because they knew that the albino had it, so...
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Show, don't tell.
Mm.
Yeah, that's how that goes. So my lesson is that if you are a child who's being read a story by your grandfather, don't insist that he reads that kissing part again. Just don't do it. Okay? It's gonna be awkward. Your grandpa's gonna be like, you want me to read it? Whoa. Because this whole time you've been telling me to skip over it now. Oh, okay. Yeah, I gotta go, kid. Sorry, the book's over.
Just one more question, Fred Savage. No, I don't know what I'm saying.
Is this where you're gonna propose to him, Sarah? I mean, it's fine.
No.
We're cool with it.
She was doing a Columbo.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
We'll see you next week, folks. We'll see you next week, folks. Thanks for listening. Bye.
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 eartrumpetaudio.com.
Ideas and entertainment.
Loud and clear.